Welcome to the Video Professor's Computer Learning Series on CD-ROM. This is the same great lesson that is found on our videotapes. This CD lesson window will always play on top of any application, so you can follow along step by step to learn the program. We have packed this CD with information, and sometimes move at a pace that is faster than you'll be able to follow along with. To help you with this, we have designed the CD to work just like a VCR. You can pause, rewind, or fast forward the CD to learn each part just by clicking the appropriate buttons. From the Table of Contents menu, you can select or review any part of this lesson instantly. For your convenience, a Video Professor icon has been added to your desktop. To view this or future lessons, simply put the CD in your drive and click on this icon to start that lesson. Now, to get started, simply click on the menu item you want to learn. For best results, we suggest you start at the first item and work your way through to the end. And welcome to my third lesson on Microsoft Works version 4.0 for Windows. In this lesson, we will add more database, spreadsheet, and word processing tools to our Works toolbox. This lesson builds on the skills taught in my first two lessons, so let's quickly go over those skills before going any further. In the first lesson, we learned how to enter, edit, and format text. We also learned to insert and size clip art and word art images. In addition to these skills, we created a Works database. At the end of the lesson, we had Works perform several mail merges using the information within our word processing and database files. In the second lesson, we learned how to add fields and records to an existing Works database. We saw how applying formats made the database easier to read and understand. We also learned how to sort records and apply filters. In addition, we learned how to create a report based on the records within our database. In the latter part of the lesson, we learned how to build and format a Works spreadsheet. If you aren't familiar with these skills, I suggest you view my first two lessons on Works 4.0 for Windows before continuing. In those first two lessons, we created material to help the Mountain View Recreation Center with their annual soccer leagues. In this final lesson, we will put the finishing touches on our project with the Mountain View Recreation Center. In doing so, we will learn how to create great-looking charts, plus learn how to use time-saving Works word processing tools, such as task wizards and templates. And along the way, we'll learn some additional skills that help us work within the spreadsheet, database, and word processor applications. Before we go any further, viewers, allow me to introduce Suzanne, my student helper. Simply follow along with her, and you'll master these new Works 4.0 skills in no time. At this point, I'm going to assume you have your computer up and running, and that you have Works 4.0 open and active on screen. If you haven't done this, stop the lesson and do so at this time. Suzanne, we need a spreadsheet file created in my second Works lesson. Insert the disk from that lesson into your system's floppy drive. Now click on the existing Documents tab that appears on the Works Task Launcher. In the document window, click on the file titled MVRC Spreadsheet. Now click on the OK button. When the spreadsheet file opens, maximize its window. Viewers, if you saved the file in the second lesson but do not see it listed in the document file window, click on the Open a Document Not Listed Here button, shown at the bottom left of the dialog box. This will open the Directory File Manager from which you can locate the MVRC spreadsheet file. If you do not have this spreadsheet file, you will need to create it now. Please refer to my second Works 4.0 for Windows tape for detailed instructions on how to create this spreadsheet and its formulas. At the end of our last lesson, we had encountered a potential problem. The print preview didn't show the MVRC spreadsheet total column. The problem is fairly simple. In its current format settings, the spreadsheet is too wide for the page orientation and margin settings. There are different ways to approach this problem. Let's look at three. Suzanne, click on the Select All button. It appears at the upper left-hand corner of the spreadsheet page. Pull down the font size list and select 8-point size. Now click on the Preview button so we can see if the new format corrected our problem. It did. The total column now fits on the page. The print preview mirrors our formats very well. Click on the Print button so we can have a hard copy printout of the spreadsheet while it is in 8-point type. Let's return the spreadsheet to 10-point size. We still have the entire spreadsheet highlighted, so pull down the font size list and select 10-point size. We've seen one way to make all of our data appear on one page. Now let's look at another. Pull down the File menu and select the Page Setup option. If the Margin tab isn't selected, click on it now. Now use the increment arrows to change the right and left margins to 1 inch each. Click on the OK button to activate these new settings. Let's see how the new margins affect the finished product. Click on the Print Preview button. The new margins also allow the total column to appear on the printed page. The Print Preview screen currently displays the spreadsheet in the portrait page orientation. It is a default setting, and as we can see here, pages in this orientation are longer than they are wide. Click on the Print button again, Suzanne. We want a hard copy of our spreadsheet while it is in this format. Having hard copies of our work on hand allows us to compare the effects of a format change without reapplying the format or relying on memory. There are two page orientations, Portrait and Landscape. Suzanne, let's reset the margin settings and see what the Landscape orientation has in store for us. Pull down the File menu and select the Page Setup option. Click on the Reset button to change the margin settings back to their default. Now click on the Source, Size, and Orientation tab. Toggle on the Landscape option. When you do, the settings within the height and width boxes change places. The width is now 11 inches wide, and the height is 8.5 inches high. You can resize the page dimensions in either orientation. Just click on the appropriate increment arrows. Suzanne, click on the Other Options tab. Toggle on the Print Grid Lines and Print Row and Column Headers options. And make sure the starting page number is set at 1. Click on the OK button. Now click on the Preview button again. Once again, we can see all the information within the spreadsheet, and we have plenty of room for other information underneath it. Each page orientation has its advantages and disadvantages. Just remember that you can apply any of the spreadsheet formats in either orientation. Whatever orientation used is up to you, depending upon the task you're performing. Click on the Print button so we have a third hard copy. Viewers, we've experimented with a number of spreadsheet formats. With practice, you'll be able to dress up almost any spreadsheet. However, no matter how well the spreadsheet reads to you, there will be times when the spreadsheet information must be transformed into something that any reader can understand. When that time comes, use the Works charting tools. There was a time not long ago when creating charts from spreadsheet data was an arduous task. Well, Works tames this task by doing most of the work for us. Suzanne, let's create some charts based on the information within our spreadsheet. We'll start with something very simple. Of the money that has been received by the Mountain View Recreation Center, we want to know what percent of this money was collected in July, August, and September, respectively. One of the most important aspects of charting spreadsheet data is properly selecting the data in which you want to chart. Selecting the desired data isn't always possible because of the existing layout of the spreadsheet and the limited means in which we can block cells within Works. However, there are ways of working around these problems. Suzanne, click and drag your mouse from cell F3 to H3. Use the shortcut menu to copy this data. Now click on A11, and then use the shortcut menu to paste these labels into this new location. You might notice that the word September is represented by a series of pound signs. These pound signs indicate that the cell width isn't wide enough to accommodate this word's length. Highlight cells F9 to H9. Use the shortcut menu to copy this data. Click on cell A12 and then open the shortcut menu. We could select the simple paste command at this point, but doing so would copy and modify the monthly balance formulas. This would give us an erroneous figure for charting, so we must tell Works to copy the value of the formulas, not the formulas themselves. To do this, we must select the Paste Special command. Select the Paste Special command. With the Values Only option toggled on within the Paste Special dialog box, click on OK. Now click and drag from cell A11 to B12. If you highlight more columns than rows in selecting data to be charted, Works groups the columns as categories. Conversely, if you highlight more rows than columns, Works groups the rows as categories. Based on our cell range, Works will group the columns as its chart categories. Click on the Chart button. It's located on the far right side of the toolbar, just right of the little calculator button. When Works creates a chart, it automatically creates a bar chart. It also uses any headings or labels in the cell range to create labels and a legend for the chart. We'll see this more clearly when we create our second chart. An example chart appears in the right section of the dialog box, reflecting our highlighted data and current default settings. However, we aren't stuck with this chart type. On the left side of the New Chart dialog box is a grid of 12 chart examples. We can choose to have any of these examples represent our selected data. Above the grid and to the right, Works shows the name of the chart that is highlighted. Suzanne, click on each of these examples to see how Works displays our information in each chart type. Keep in mind that even though Works can display the spreadsheet data in each chart type, it doesn't mean that that chart will properly represent the data. Make sure the pie chart is selected. A pie chart best represents our selected data because it shows the ratio of each month's receipts to the total received. Take another look at the sample chart on the right. It now shows a pie chart. Suzanne, you'll notice that each of our month's totals are represented. Red for July, green for August, and blue for September. The pie chart does a nice job, but let's give it a little more depth by making it a 3D pie chart. Click on the Chart Example box. On the bottom left-hand corner of the dialog box is the Finishing Touches box. Move your cursor to this box. Type third quarter receipts. When you finish entering the text, toggle on the border command. Now click on the OK button. Works has created a new window for our chart. In this window, we will be able to apply even more charting options and formats. So far, all we have is a multinational peace sign. But if we want people to get a better understanding of this data, we need to add a little more detail. On the Chart toolbar are buttons representing the 8 basic chart types. Click on the 3D Chart Type button. It's the third button from the right. Once the Chart Type box appears, click on the Variations tab. As the tab proclaims, we now have a number of 3D pie chart variations to choose from. Our current variation is the bottom left-hand corner selection. It lists the series labels, which in our case are the third quarter months. It doesn't, however, give us the percentage for each month's receipts total. The choice at the bottom right does. Click on it and then click on the OK button. You'll notice that we now have percentage figures in parentheses next to our month labels. This gives our chart a more detailed appearance. Suzanne, pull down the Windows menu and select the MVRC spreadsheet. Since a chart is based on information within a specific spreadsheet, it is attached to that spreadsheet unless you make special provisions to make it available to other files. Suzanne, let's chart how each person's monthly payment stacks up against each month's total. Click and drag from cell C4 to C8. Press your right mouse button to access the shortcut menu, and then select the Copy command. Once done, click on cell A14, and then paste the client's last names there. Now highlight cells F3 to H9. Once those cells are selected, use the shortcut menu to copy the data within these cells. Click on cell B13. Now use the shortcut menu's Paste Special command to paste the client payments and the monthly totals into this location. Finish the paste by pressing your Enter key after the Paste Special box appears on screen. Before we chart this data set, we need to add another label. Click on cell A19 and then type in the word Total. Works will use these labels to set the chart's Y-axis. Now click and drag from cell A13 to D19. Once those cells are highlighted, click on the New Chart button again. A bar chart best represents our data, but let's also give it a little more depth by making it 3D. Click on the 3D Chart Type box. It is the chart second from the left on the bottom row on the grid. In the chart title text edit box, please type the title Client Receipts per Month. With that entered, toggle on the Add Border and Add Grid Lines options. Once again, the example chart changes to show the effects of the border and grid and our other formatting selections. Overall, the chart looks much more professional. Now click on the Advanced Options tab. These options allow us to change how our data is plotted on the chart. The first option asks, which way do your series go? Right now, it tells us that the series is across. Let's see what happens to the chart and how our information is presented if we toggle on the down option. Notice that the series on which the chart is plotted has changed. It still displays how much each client paid each month. It just displays it differently. Toggle on the Across option again. Unless you have had some experience making charts, these options aren't intuitive. You can always experiment with the options to see how each affects the chart. Click on the OK button. Once again, we have a chart window on screen. The legend at the bottom of the chart assigns a color to each client and the monthly total. As we can see here, the total bars are much bigger than the client bars, since they represent the combined receipts from those members. You'll also notice that the color bar representing Mr. Sullivan's is absent from the August and September areas. This is due to Mr. Sullivan not sending any money in those months. Let's create one more chart. Pull down the View menu and select the Spreadsheet option. Let's chart each client's outstanding balance compared to the total outstanding balance. Click and drag from cell A14 to A19. Once those cells are blocked, open the shortcut menu and then select the Copy command. Now select cell G12 and then paste the label's data. We don't have a total invoiced column, so let's create one for our charting purposes. Enter the word charged into cell H11. The soccer league fee of $125 plus the membership fee of $475 is $600. Enter that amount into H12 and then use the fill handle to copy that figure for each client. With that done, click on cell H17. We need a total of all charges, so click on the Sum function button and then press your Enter key. Now click and drag from cell I3 to I9. Use the shortcut menu to select the Copy command. Once done, select cell I11. Open the shortcut menu and then select the Paste Special command. Make sure the Values Only option is selected in the Paste Special dialog box before pressing your Enter key. Let's chart this information. Click and drag from cell G11 to I17. Now click on the Chart button. When the Chart dialog box appears on screen, click on the 3D chart type and then type Outstanding Balances into the chart title box. Toggle on the Add Border and Add Grid Lines options and then click on the OK button. This chart is simple and to the point. We have two different colored bars here. The red bar represents the total amount charged to each member, which is the first set, or series of data charted. The green bar represents the second series of data charted, the remaining balance figures for each member. The higher the balance bar is in relationship to the charge bar, the more debt a client has. The chart title gives us the right information, but it could use a little formatting. Click on it. With the title highlighted, pull down the Format menu and select the Font and Style option. Now use the font size selection window to select 18-point size. Then toggle on the Underline command that appears in the Style section. Click on the OK button when you have these settings. The title looks good, but it could be a little more direct as to what the chart represents. Let's edit our main title and add a subtitle, Suzanne. Pull down the Edit menu and select the Titles command. Move your mouse pointer before the O in Outstanding. Type the number 3. Follow it with a lowercase r and d. Then enter the abbreviation for quarter, QTR. Enter a period and then press the space bar to give us a space between the abbreviation and the word Outstanding. Tab down to the subtitle text edit box and type a parentheses and then the words Membership Dues plus League Fees. End the subtitle with a closed parentheses. Now tab down to the horizontal X-axis edit box and type MVRC members. When you finish that, tab down to the vertical Y-axis edit box and type dollars. When you finish, click on the OK button to add these new graphics to the chart. Our chart is beginning to look very professional. Let's look at changing the bar color, Suzanne. Open the Format menu and select the Shading and Color option. This dialog box allows us to change the color of each bar within the selected chart. Let's change the color of the first series, the total charges. The radio buttons on the left indicate that the series is selected. Use the color option window to find dark magenta, then click on that choice. With that done, select the option labeled Dense, which appears in the Patterns window. The radio buttons on the left indicate that the series is selected. This will determine how to shade each bar with the selected color. Now click on the Format button to put these changes into effect. We're finished, so click on the Close button. Well, on second thought, the magenta doesn't give us the contrast that the simple red did. Let's reverse this action. Pull down the Edit menu and select the Undo command. Remember, the Undo command only reverses the last command given or format applied. Okay, Suzanne, let's give this chart a more appropriate name than chart number 3. Pull down the Tools menu and select the Rename Chart option. Make sure the Chart 3 title is highlighted and then type the word Outstanding followed by the word Balances. With that entered, click on the Rename button. Now click on the OK button. This action replaces the generic Chart 3 name with our new name. Click on the Save button. Suzanne, if we were to close the Mountain View RC spreadsheet file and then reopen that file, this chart file wouldn't automatically reopen, even though it is considered part of the spreadsheet file. Let's see how to reopen a chart file. First, pull down the File menu and select the Close command. To reopen the chart, pull down the View menu and select the Chart command. The Chart selection box lists the charts created in this spreadsheet file. You will find the Outstanding Balance Chart title in the Selection menu. Make sure that title is selected and then click on the OK button. The Chart command under the View menu comes in handy when a spreadsheet has many charts connected to it. Each chart takes up a sizable amount of memory, so it is a good idea to keep charts closed until they are needed, such as when it's time to print them. When printing a spreadsheet, there are a few extra measures that need to be taken if we want to exclude certain sections of that spreadsheet from printing, or if we want to manipulate how a chart is printed. Let's take a look. Pull down the Window menu and click on the MVRC spreadsheet file name. Suzanne, click on the Print Preview button so we can see what information will be printed at this time. If we were to print the spreadsheet now, the copied data that appears below our main spreadsheet would also be printed. The charts represent this information much better, so let's print the main spreadsheet cells while excluding the smaller block of cells that we used in creating the charts. To accomplish this, we must select a specific cell range and use a Format menu option called Set Print Area. We can't access that command in Print Preview, so either click on the Cancel button or press your Escape key to bring the spreadsheet back on screen. In order to set a print area, we must first select the area or range of cells to be printed. We want only the main spreadsheet cells, so click and drag from cell A1 to I9. With that cell range selected, open the Format menu and select the Set Print Area option. Works quickly opens an advice box which asks if we want only the highlighted cells to be printed on our document. We do, so click on the OK button. Click on the Preview button again so we can see how the Set Print Area command affects what is printed. As we can see here, the excess data has been excluded from the Print Preview, which means it will also be excluded from the hard copy. The Set Print Area command is very handy to use, especially if a spreadsheet is very large and you want to print only a small portion of that spreadsheet. Once a print area has been set, your printing is limited to that range of cells unless you delete that print area or set another print area. Press your Escape key or click on the Cancel button. We'll reset the entire spreadsheet as the print area by deleting the current Set Print Area. Now pull down the Insert menu and then click on the Range Name command. It's the last command on the menu. In the Select a Name window, click on the Set Print area A1 to I-19 and then click on the Delete button. Click on the Close button.
Professor, you've mentioned range names before, but I'm still a little confused as to what they are used for.
A range name represents a range of at least one or more cells. Here, let me show you. Suzanne selects cells E4 to E9. We'll give this range of cells a name. Pull down the Insert menu and select the Range Name command. Here, Works suggests using the nearest label as the range name. We'll use part of it. Click the insertion point before the F in fees and then type in the word League. Once done, click on the OK button. Now click on cell E9 where the fee sum formula resides. Look at the formula's arguments area. The range name League Fees now represents the cell range E4 to E9. The range name will always reference these cells, no matter what data may appear in the range. The real beauty of range names is that they can be used in other formulas and functions. Before we finish our overview of spreadsheet printing, let's learn how to print the chart we created. Pull down the Window menu and select the chart file Outstanding Balance. Click on the Print Preview button again. As the preview shows, our chart currently takes up almost an entire hard copy page. Click inside the page area to get a better view of the chart. Even though the printer preview doesn't show color, your chart will be printed in color if you have a color printer connected to your system. If you're printing with a black and white printer, the green and red color bars will print out just as you see it on the preview screen. Suzanne, click on the Print button to send this full-page version to your printer. Click on the Print Box OK button. Now, as an alternative to the full-page chart, let's compose it to a more manageable size. Open the File menu and select the Page Setup option. Within the dialog box, make sure the Other Options tab is selected. We are given 3 chart sizing options to choose from: Screen Size, Full Page Keep Proportions, and Full Page, which is the default selection. Toggle on the Screen Size option. Then click on OK. Now click on the Print Preview button again. As we can see in the Print Preview, our chart is now composed to fit a little more comfortably on the printed page. Suzanne, click on the Print button to send this version of the chart to your printer. That wraps up our section on spreadsheet and chart printing. Now let's see what complications may arise if we add rows to our spreadsheet. Suzanne, let's add a few client records to our spreadsheet file. We'll use them to illustrate some of the finer points of adding rows to our spreadsheet. Pull down the View menu and select the Spreadsheet command. Now select cell D9. Look at the formula line. It reads =, sum, parens, D4, D8, parens. This tells us that this cell contains a formula for the sums of the entries in cells 4 through 8. And if we were to select any of the other formulas on line 9, they would inform us that they too sum cells 4 through 8 in their respective columns. Keep in mind that the fees formula may look a little different because it contains the range name, but it still sums the data in cells 4 through 8. Suzanne, we have 3 new records to enter into our spreadsheet, and in order for them to be included in our total formulas, they must be entered within the cell range 4 through 8. Before we start entering the details of these new records, we must insert a few new rows within the formula sum range. We'll insert these new rows at row 8, so click on the row 8 header to highlight it. Now pull down the Insert menu and click on the Insert Row command. As soon as you click on that command, we're given a blank row above our last record. The Insert command has a distinct mode of operation you should always remember. When inserting new rows, it inserts them above the highlighted row. And when it inserts new columns, it inserts them to the left of the highlighted column. Let's see what has happened to our invoice formula. Click on cell D10, Suzanne. The formula now tells us that it sums the contents of cells D4 to D9. This tells us that any numbers entered within our newly inserted row D8 will be included in the calculations for this total. And if we were to look at the other formulas on row 10, you would see that they also have changed to accommodate the new row. Suzanne, we have 2 more rows to insert, so click on the row 8 header, then pull down the Insert menu and select the Insert Row command again. Repeat the process to add one other row. One more quick look at the dues total cell shows us the formula now includes all 3 new records and spans from D4 to D11. That's just what we needed. Suzanne, click on cell A8. We are ready to add those 3 new records. On screen are 3 records from the center's summer karate class. Enter Kelly Bellum's information first, starting with her account number of 15. Her membership dues of $425 are the same as the existing members. However, the summer karate class is $25 more than the soccer league fees, so enter $150 into the fees column. According to the Mountain View Recreation Center's accounting department, Kelly Bellum has made payments of $200 in July, $100 in August, and $50 in September. After you enter her information, enter Mr. Nelson's and Mr. Greer's data. When you finish, make sure you have entered the correct payment amounts in the appropriate month. You may wish to stop and/or rewind this lesson while you add the information. Okay, Suzanne, our next step is to make sure the rest of the spreadsheet is updated to reflect our new entries. Look at the total in D12, Suzanne. Before we entered the additional records, the dues total was $2,375. Now it tells us that we have $3,800 in membership dues billing. Our formulas must be working. And if you continue looking down row 12, you'll notice that we have new totals for July, August, and September. However, our outstanding balance total hasn't changed.
Why is that, Professor?
It actually is pretty simple, Suzanne. The outstanding balance total formula relies on sums produced from other formulas. More specifically, the formulas that calculate each client's outstanding balance. Works can adjust a formula's sum range to accommodate a new row, like it did for the invoice total, but it can't automatically enter a formula for us. That type of operation is for the fill commands. Speaking of which, let's use the fill handle to enter the missing formulas. Click on cell I7 and then use the fill handle to copy that formula into cells I8 to I10. We now have the outstanding balances for each new record, plus a new outstanding balance total. Looks like the Rec Center's accounting department has $3,305 yet to collect. Suzanne, click on the Save icon to save these latest changes to disk. I think we've looked at the financial side of things enough for now. Let's turn our attention back to our soccer league stars. The Mountain View Recreation Center hands out certificates of accomplishment at the end of each soccer season. It's our job to create this year's certificate. We could create it from scratch, but I have a better idea. Let's quickly create a certificate form by using one of Work's most productive time-saving features, Task Wizards. Task Wizards use forms called templates, which are pre-prepared and formatted forms that can easily be personalized for your specific applications. As the Task Wizards perform their magic, they can at times actually walk you through the process of modifying or personalizing the forms. Suzanne, click on the Task Launcher. Now click on the Task Wizards tab. On the left side of this tab, we are given a selection window. It displays all the Task Wizards available to us in Works. It also allows us to select a broad category of documents, then narrow down our search until we find a Task Wizard that fits our document needs. The titles in boldface identify the general categories. Suzanne, click on the little icon just left of the correspondence title. Underneath this category, we have Task Wizards for creating bids, brochures, certificates, fax cover sheets, form letters, letterhead, and other items related to business and personal correspondence. Click on the little icon next to the correspondence title again. This action closed the category listing. Now click on the Business Management title. Once again, we are given a list of Task Wizards in which to choose from, and it's a lengthy list at that. Use the selection window scroll bar to move more of these titles into view. You'll notice that Works has wizards that help create price lists, proposals, schedules, and other business documents.
Professor, what types of files do the Task Wizards create?
Good question. Each Task Wizard creates a specific file type. Some wizards create word processing documents. Some create spreadsheet files, while others walk you through the process of building your own database. Move the Business and Management heading back to the top of the selection screen.
Is there any way to tell what type of file a wizard might create without going through the process?
Yes, there is. You'll notice that to the left of each task wizard is a small icon. These icons tell us what file type we are creating. Look at the one next to the bid title. The little calculator over a spreadsheet page indicates that this wizard creates a spreadsheet file. The next wizard creates a word processing document. Its icon has a pencil pointing at a piece of paper. The icon next to the business inventory title informs us that this wizard creates a database. It's represented by a couple of Rolodex cards. Although these task wizards may create a specific file type, the form created by the wizard may not look typical of that file type. A spreadsheet file may look more like a simple word processing document. A quick and easy way to see what type of file you're in is to look at the title bar. Our goal is to create a certificate for the Soccer League kids. We saw a title for that task wizard under the correspondence title, so let's go back to that set of wizards. Click on the Business and Management icon to close this list. And with that done, click on the icon next to the correspondence title. The certificate wizard should do the trick, so click on its title. It is the third one listed under correspondence. Now look at the right side of the tab. Each time you select a title, this wizard's particular action or definition is displayed here. The text informs us that we can choose one of these special certificates to acknowledge a special student, employee, or team member. I think we're on track, Suzanne. Click on the OK button that appears at the bottom right of the tab. The next box we are given gives us a choice. We can either go straight to the task wizard or choose a document that has already been created with this task wizard. Click on the button marked Show Me a List of Documents. This displays a small selection window. If you or someone else had used this task wizard before, the file created at that time would appear here. Suzanne doesn't have any files listed, but if she did, we could use those files to build our certificate. So click on the button next to the Hide the List of Documents label. Now click on the first button to run the Certificate Task Wizard. The Task Wizard literally walks you through the process of creating a professional-looking form. The steps required to create the form may take only a few mouse clicks. The number of selections depends on the Task Wizard and the degree of specialization you desire. The Welcome page for the certificate tells us a bit about what the Task Wizard can do for us. The options that appear in the Task Wizard's screen are basically a set of decision trees. Depending on what our answer is, a unique path is chosen for the next question it asks us. Within a limited context, each set of user choices can produce a different set of wizard responses that customize to the need of the user. The certificate wizard only requires one decision. What document type do we want? We are given three layouts: Classic, which is the default selection, Jazzy, and Gift Certificate. The current layout selection will have a bold outline around it. We're also given a thumbnail representation of this layout design. Suzanne, click on the middle choice, Jazzy. The thumbnail representation changes to reflect this layout's formatting. It's not very detailed, but it should be enough to make an initial decision. Click on the gift certificate layout. As the thumbnail shows, each gift certificate currently takes up a third of a page. We aren't stuck with these dimensions. We can always edit the form to meet our needs. The classic layout will work for our purposes, so click on that choice, and then click on the Create button that appears at the bottom right of the Task Wizard screen. Depending on the speed of your system and the complexity of the form being created, the Task Wizard can take from a few seconds to several minutes to complete its task. The Task Wizard doesn't automatically give us a completed soccer league certificate, but it does give us a professional layout of which we can modify to meet our specific needs. Each form is formatted in an acceptable style. In fact, some forms contain fairly complex formulas and graphics. The certificate form is fairly simple in structure. You'll notice that we already have an area to insert each recipient's name. The words you see on the form aren't like the field codes you would see on a boilerplate document, such as our form letter we created in Level 1. They are more like simple reminders as to where information should be placed. We can edit the entered text or replace it altogether. Before we begin modifying this form to suit our purposes, let's take a quick look at the Insert menu to see what type of information we may add to this form. Suzanne, pull down the Insert menu. The options that appear in this menu are a telltale sign that this form is a word processing file. We can use this menu to insert page breaks and numbers, date and time codes, plus special characters. We can also insert database fields and tables, spreadsheets and charts, plus clip art and word art objects. If this form were a spreadsheet file, the insert menu would only allow us to insert page breaks, columns and rows, functions, and range names. But if this form were a database, there wouldn't be an insert menu on the menu bar. We can always copy and paste data between the three applications. However, there are limitations in doing so. For instance, you can paste a spreadsheet into a database, but to do so, you must be in the Form Design view. Even then, the spreadsheet doesn't appear in the list view or affect existing data. Suzanne, let's merge our Soccer Kids database with the form so each kid receives a personalized certificate. Click on the Database Field command. We need to enter some field codes into our certificate form. The insertion point is positioned at the top of the form, so any fields we enter will be placed at that point. We'll copy the field codes in their intended positions after we have them entered. No database files are open, so click on the Use a Different Database button. When the database selection window appears, click on the Soccer Data-Kid title. Then click on the OK button. Make sure the first name title is highlighted in the Insert Field dialog box, and then click on the Insert button. The next field title is automatically highlighted for us. We want it, so click on the Insert button again. Let's include each player's point total. Click on the Total field title, and then click on the Insert button. Once done, click on the Close button. The logical place to insert the first and last name fields is between the text that reads, "Certify to all that," and "has fulfilled the requirements of." Highlight the first and last name fields, and then use the mouse shortcut menu to select the Cut command. Now move the insertion point to just before the paragraph marker, which appears between the aforementioned lines. Use the shortcut menu to paste the field codes at that location. We want the Soccer Kids' names to really stand out, so let's make the font size bigger for this section of the certificate. The font is currently in Times New Roman at 16 points. Highlight the first and last name fields, then pull down the font size list and click on 36 point size. That should make their names stand out as well as put a smile on their parent's face. Not only can we insert field codes with this form, we can also insert objects such as a logo or a spreadsheet chart. Suzanne, highlight the management development text. I don't believe they have any say in the player's development, so we'll delete this text, and then replace it with the Mountain View Recreation Center's logo that we created in the Soccer League announcement. With the text highlighted, press your Delete key. Now click on the Task Launcher button. We need the soccer letter file we created in our first lesson, so click on the Existing Documents tab. Find the soccer letter file within the selection window. Click on it, and then on the OK button. When the document appears on screen, click on the Mountain View Recreation Center Word Art object. Then use the shortcut menu to copy the text object. Once done, pull down the Windows menu, and then click on the Unsaved Document 1 file. With our certificate back on screen, use the shortcut menu to paste the Rec Center's logo where the insertion point is located. We can tell that the logo is an object because the certificate's default color doesn't bleed through the logo's letters. Now let's edit the text in the first sentence. Move your insertion mark before the B in the word board. Now press your Delete key until the words Board of Managers are erased. With that done, type the words Soccer League Coaches. Changing the font size of the field headers, coupled with the insertion of the logo, has dwarfed the Certify to All That line. Let's fix it. Highlight that text. Then pull down the font size list and click on 16 point size. Highlight the Strategic Planning and Development line, and then type in the words Superstar Soccer Player. You'll notice that the font type stays the same throughout the certificate. However, the template contains different point sizes to add emphasis and text flow. Remember that the paragraph markers contain the formatting selected for each paragraph. Now move the insertion point into the line above our Superstar Soccer Player text. Click before the F in Fulfilled. Now type in the word Scored Add a space after you've entered the text. Once done, go to the top of the form and highlight the total field code. When we inserted the field codes on the first line, they took on the formatting for that line. The point size formatting for that line is 16 points, but the line in which we are moving this text is 10 point size. We can change the format now or after we've moved the field to its new location. Let's do it now. Pull down the point size listing and then click on 10 point size. When you finish that, use the shortcut menu to cut the field code, and then move the insert mark just before the F in fulfilled. Once more, use the shortcut menu to paste the cut data back into the form. Press your spacebar key and type the words points and has thus. Add a space after you've entered the text. I think the certificate can convey its message without the last 3 lines in this body text. Move your insertion point after the R in player and then type a period. Now highlight the last 3 lines, including the 2 paragraph marks that come after the end of the last sentence. Press your delete key. Suzanne, click on the print preview button so we can see if we can do final print. When the preview all records box appears, click on the OK button. Remember, our certificate form includes field codes, so before the preview can use a facsimile of the finished product, it must merge the form with the database information. The print preview screen shows a certificate that will be sent to Sean Sullivan. Click your cursor on the certificate. Now look at the bottom of the form. The 2 lines where a date and signature are entered are barely visible. You'll also notice that the block of color extends past the double border. This has occurred because we've entered some field codes plus the center's logo. Also, we've changed the font size of a few sentences. Press your escape key to close the preview. We've got a little work to do. Suzanne, let's resize the logo to see what effect it has on the certificate's layout. Remember, it is considered an object, so we can quickly resize it by manipulating its object box. Click your cursor on the middle of the logo. This activates the resizing box. Click on the vertical line on the left side of this box. When the resizing arrow appears, drag the left line to the left about 1 inch. Release the mouse button and then click and drag the right line just over a 1/2 inch to the right. Release the mouse button and then click and drag the bottom line up about 1/3 of an inch. Now use your vertical scroll bar to bring the bottom of the form into view. This resizing allowed more of the form's text to appear, but we still need to make room for the color backdrop. Highlight the line of stars. These symbols are part of the Wingdings font package. Their current point size is 44. Click inside the font size box and type a 20. Then press your Enter key. It looks like the formatting change did the trick. Click on the Print Preview button again, and again on the OK button. When the preview appears, click your mouse to zoom our view. Interesting, the color block still overlaps the borders. We have to trust the print preview, so it looks like another change is needed. Press your Escape key. I don't think the stars add that much to the certificate, so let's delete them. Press your Delete key. We now need to add a little space between the superstar line and the signature lines. Move the insertion point just before the paragraph marker that comes after the superstar line. Then press your Enter key. That looks better. Now let's save this file to disk. Pull down the File menu and select the Save As command. Make sure the file name box is selected and then type in Certificate as the file's name. Once that is entered, click on the Save button. Now pull down the File menu again and then click on the Print command. When the Print dialog box comes up, check that the Print Merge option is toggled on. Click on the OK button, and then on the OK button that appears on the Print Merge warning box. This sends the certificates to our system's printer.
Professor, can we use this file to create certificates of achievement for other leagues?
Yes, we can. We could save the file under another name and then modify the text to meet our needs. Another approach would be to save the certificate's formatting, text, and graphics as a template. No matter how you create a file or what type of file it is, you can always save it as a template. Templates are model documents that contain all the format settings, text, and graphic elements that you want to use later in creating new documents. You can create a template from scratch or by basing it on an existing file's formats and data. It doesn't matter if the file was created by you or by a task wizard. Using templates gives us continuity between like files. Each file based on the template starts out with the same basic format settings, text, and graphics. Simply renaming a file such as the soccer letter, then making modifications to meet your needs may work for you. However, be wary that the changes made in that latest incarnation will be carried over to the next file. Pretty soon, the formats have changed so much that we lose continuity between files. The Soccer League announcement letter is a good candidate for a template because this correspondence is sent out annually. Let's save the soccer letter's formats and data as a template. This way, all we need to do is make a few modifications come Soccer League drive time. Suzanne, pull down the Windows menu and then click on the soccer letter title. The procedure to save a file as a template is very similar to the basic file save steps. Pull down the File menu and then click on the Save As command. At the bottom right of the Save As dialog box is a button labeled Template. Click on it. We are given yet another dialog box. Works wants to know what we want to name the template. Since this file will be used to increase awareness of the Soccer League, let's type in League Drive as the template name. This should make the file easy to find come next soccer season. Now click on the default button that appears at the bottom right. The options in this area allow us to set a default template or to clear a template's settings. Currently, no template is set as the default.
Professor, what is a default template?
I think an illustration will answer your question best. If we were to set the soccer letter template as the word processor's default template, then every time the word processor is opened, it would open with the soccer letter instead of the blank document page. We can specify a default template for each Works tool. However, unless you plan on working strictly on the same file every computer session, it is better to leave the template setting blank. Starting from scratch also has its advantages. If we were to toggle on the Use this template for new word processor documents option, all new files created in the Works word processor would be based on the format supplied in the soccer letter document. I don't think you would want all your personal or business correspondence based on our fictional Recreation Center's format settings, text, or logo, so toggle off this option. Once done, click on the OK button. You know, with just a few modifications, the certificate form could be used for other leagues. Let's save the current settings in that file as a template. Pull down the Windows menu and then click on the certificate title. Once it is on screen, pull down the File menu and then click on the Save As command. When the Save As dialog box appears, click on the Template button. Now type in League Awards as the template name. With that entered, click on the OK button.
Professor, I'm a little confused. Did we just save these template files to our floppy disk? And if so, will we need the floppy disk in order to access them?
We didn't save the template to the floppy disk. Works automatically stores templates in a special folder. The files we based our new templates on haven't changed. Their settings, text, and graphics have simply been copied and saved as a separate file. Suzanne, let's close the original files and then go through the process of bringing a template on screen. Open the File menu and click on the Close command. Repeat these commands to close the soccer letter file. Pull down the File menu again and then click on the Open command. Look at this dialog box's Folders and Files area. It lists all the file names that we have saved to floppy disk in our 3 lessons. You'll notice that the template file names, League Drive and League Awards, don't appear here, which indicates that those files are stored somewhere else. Suzanne, click on the Up One Level button. The Works program files are stored in your system's hard drive. Unless your system's hard drive has been partitioned for multiple drives, the Works program files should be on the C drive. Double-click on that drive letter, Suzanne. Viewers, if your Works files are stored on another drive, you'll need to double-click on that drive letter. Depending on how Works was installed on your system, you may see its folder at this time. If you do see it listed, double-click on that file folder. Suzanne's Works files are stored in the Programs folder, so she must double-click on that folder and then on the MS Works folder that appears. Once the MS Works folder is open, find the Templates folder and double-click on it. Every template that has been created in Works should be listed here. Suzanne hasn't created any other templates than those in this lesson, so the Folders and Files area displays only 2 files. To begin using one of these templates, all one needs to do is highlight the desired template name and then click on OK. Before we do that, I want to illustrate the separation between template and document files. Everyone highlight League Awards and then press your Delete key. When the confirmation box appears, click on the Yes button. This action sends the file to the Windows 95 recycle bin unless you have the Delete immediately from the system command under the recycle bin's property options, in which case the file will be permanently deleted. Now click on the League Drive file title and then click on the Open button. The soccer letter you see here before you isn't the original soccer letter we created in Level 1, nor is it the template based on that letter's formatting, text, and graphics. It's a copy of the data and format settings within the Soccer Drive template. The template is always stored safely within the Templates folder. And unless we save this new information under the existing template name League Drive, the original template file will remain as it is now. Likewise, the original word processing file, soccer letter, will remain intact. Before we wrap up this lesson, I want to show you one more template that could come in handy if we were the Mountain View Recreation Center's accounting department. Click on the Task Launcher button, and when the Task Launcher box opens, click on the Task Wizard tab. Now use the scroll bar to find the Business Management heading. When you do, click on it so we can see its titles. Now find the Statements Wizard title. Click on it and then on the OK button. When the Task Wizard box appears, click on the Yes, Run the Task Wizard button. This Task Wizard gives us a little more control over the finished form. Make sure the Monthly Statement option is selected, and then click on the Next button. At this point, we could have the Task Wizard finish creating the form for us. We could, but let's see what type of control we have over the form's final appearance. You'll notice that in the middle of this screen, we're given 4 decision windows. Each window controls a different part of the form's layout. Click on the letterhead selection arrow. The first screen we see asks if we want to design our own letterhead or if we want to use pre-printed letterhead, which many companies will have on hand. Let's create our own letterhead. Make sure that option is highlighted and then click on the Next button. We are now given 7 different letterhead styles to choose from. Each option has a different layout complete with character and paragraph formats as well as lines, font type and size, and other graphic elements. Suzanne makes sure the Art Deco option is toggled on. Now click on the Next button. We are given yet another set of options to choose from. This Task Wizard is a little closer to the decision tree process that many Task Wizards operate under. It is a decision tree. Selecting one option brings related options on screen. This continues until you have reached the end of the branch, at which time the decision process may start over on another branch. You aren't required to select each decision window or any of its options. However, by doing so, you may save yourself a lot of time and trouble. Viewers, I'm going to leave you in this Task Wizard. You can finish creating the form by simply clicking on the Create It button. Or if you are in any part of a decision branch, just click on the Cancel button to get out of that part of the tree. Thank you all for being such wonderful students. You now have the knowledge to tackle almost any project that can be created in Works. Good luck, and remember, there is always more you can learn from me, the Video Professor.